Let's move on. I really want to talk to Matt in North Dakota. Matt, you're live with Eric and V. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good. How are you guys?
Doing good.
Pretty well. Caffeine's kicking in. I am ready to go. What do you want to talk about?
Hey, well, I was just looking for some advice on, I'm in a pretty tough situation. So I was in a cult, and technically I'm still in a cult, but I'm trying to find a good way to leave, and just wondering what your guys' thoughts are. So I was in the Jehovah's Witness cult for my entire life. I guess I was born into it, and about 2.5 years ago I woke up to that it was false, basically. It was just a false doctrine, and shortly thereafter I became atheist.
Mm-hmm.
And when I talk to other people about this, it's a 50-50 response as to how I should handle it. So some people say, stay in because, and basically just make it look like you're quote unquote spiritually weak so that you don't lose all your family and friends. And half the people I talk to says, well, you need to be true to yourself as well. So just make a clean cut. And I guess I was wondering if you guys had any suggestions or if you had ever encountered anyone like that. What are your thoughts on that situation?
Yeah, that's rough.
It is, and
it sucks, man.
Yeah,
and it totally depends on your personal situation. There's not a right answer there.
Mm-hmm.
There are people I've talked to who are just unable to get community, and leaving that kind of insular system could be incredibly detrimental in their lives. And for those people who would truly suffer that way, I would say, hey, maybe start taking small steps, start making friends outside of that group, start, getting a foothold where it's not going to feel like you lost everything all at once. Because that really, really sucks. And for those people who do leave entirely, just cold turkey, there's a lot of loss, and especially with J-dubs, they take their shunning seriously, and it hurts. If you wanted to do that, well, there's a lot that comes with it. There's a lot of rediscovering things and things that maybe you think about yourself right now that, in the absence of that culture, maybe needs another look. And you might find that, that Matt that you're going to grow into be is somebody that you can grow to love and be happy about. And that can be a wonderful thing. But man,
it's
hurts.
tough because I have a family and I have 2 young children. And the witnesses are famous for weaponizing family against non-believers or people that leave that cult, and it's really tough now because my entire family is in this, so it's like nothing I can do or say to my kids right now anyway really influences them. It's basically everyone in the family is saying, well, I'm just spiritually weak, and your father hopefully comes to his senses. So that's one of the insidious things I think about the witnesses, is that they weaponize family against each other. Because if I were to just resign from the organization, they call it disassociate, it would be an immediate cutting off of family, and they would expect, basically it's grounds for like marital separation, and because I'm a spiritual danger is what they would classify my family. So it's been a really tough road, and I live like 30 miles. I don't know. I live pretty close to where I grew up. My parents are part of this cult, and basically everyone except for my 2 siblings, ironically, are part of this cult. They escaped a while ago, but it's one of those things where mentally it's playing games with me. I've been having really, really weird dreams for like the last year and a half,
Yeah.
And it's all based around this cult and leaving it and my fears of leaving it. But at the same time, I feel like the longer I stay in, the worse it'll get mentally for me.
Yeah. So the best thing that I can think of is to provide you with resources, because it's going to be a process, and having people to talk to, especially people who are ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, really, really helps. I have a dear friend in Telltale. If you haven't checked out Telltale, please do. Also, I had John Cedars, Lloyd Evans, here on the show.
Yep.
Who's also fantastic. Their connections to ex-Jehovah's Witness communities is wonderful. And I mean, really, it's wild. When Lloyd came and sat in and did Talk Heathen, there was a massive audience. And every time somebody pulled out their phone, they were afraid, because they were afraid someone was taking pictures to use again. And there's just this paranoia and this fear. And it's justified in this case. And it can be tough. And I would be absolutely dishonest if I said that I understood with any real degree of I can only imagine how rough that is. But they could help. They could probably help a whole lot more than we could.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's something that you just grow up and you take it for granted, and then it happens, and you're one of those that you're supposed to shun, and it's pretty crazy. It's one of those things where, it's hard to find the line of where you protect yourself mentally, because I feel like it's getting to the end of the rope versus, keeping those in your life that you value. Honestly, like my folks, my parents, and my in-laws, the love bombing almost makes you go nuts, because everyone's being told that you're just spiritually weak. But that, no, I'm not spiritually weak. I just don't believe in any of this anymore. Yeah. So I guess it's a fine line there. So
it is. And ultimately, I think you need to cut yourself some slack, whatever your decision is, because it's a tough one, and it's something that only you are going to understand the intricacies of, and it's okay, but you're not alone. And there are ex-Jehovah's Witnesses in particular who've shared that experience, who I think would be very, very beneficial for you if you haven't reached out already. But if you haven't, please consider it. Have you reached out?
I've reached out to a couple. In fact, there's a couple in the local community that I live in that have left the organization, and we get along really good. They're in the same situation that I'm in, where they've just they call it fading from the religion. So you're not officially disassociated or disfellowshipped or shunned, but you've just kind of faded out. Mm-hmm. And they've been a great resource to me.
Good.
There's a lot. It's just my particular situation. It's really tough because, everyone in my family, including my wife and kids, they're staunch believers. And so it's like, and I keep getting the advice of, well, just be patient. But at the same time, I'm conflicted, right? Because I hate being in a relationship where you're trying to change the other person, because I don't want to do that. I don't think that's the right thing to do. And I know from their perspective, what's being preached to them is, well, just win them over with love. Get them to come back to the organization, with love. And so basically that system is built and conditioned to show love with the intent of getting the unbeliever back into the family. So I know what's happening, and the advice that my family is getting on me is, well, if you're just really nice to them, they'll come back to the organization. So it's just, it feels like I'm in between a rock and a hard spot. I feel like telling them, well, there's no way I'm ever coming back. I just want to be honest with you. And I feel like the only way I could do that without getting love bombed is just formally resigning. So it's kind of a conflicting situation.
Well, I would actually be incredibly interested if at some point in the future you wanted to call back and let us know how things went.
Sure.
I think that experience in particular is one that there needs to be more people speaking about, because I don't think it's represented enough for people to go, hey, that person had a similar experience to me, and when you can create that. I mean, even in this call, even if you decide, maybe I need to stay in it for X, Y, and Z reasons, hearing this can be comforting. It can help. And I wish you the best, man.
Also, if you want to check out the Recovering from Religion has a hotline for people who are deconverting or in the process of deconversion. And they have volunteers who can call and talk to, and that's 1-84-I-DOUBT-IT. If you call that number, you will be able to talk to some people who have had experience talking to other people and probably personal experience as well.
Definitely.
That sounds great. Well, I appreciate you guys taking my call, and thank you for everything that you guys do. It is very much appreciated, and it does a lot of good, whether you know it or not.
Well,
it's far-reaching too. So,
thank you, man.
Thank you.
That's really nice. Take care.
Yeah. You.
Oh, that was a cut, but that's okay.